How much more you got left to do over here? Oh, can you turn the light off on the back too? Then? Yeah. I'm not close enough. I'm making weird noises. Okay. I'm gonna leave this one. Okay. Hello. Selena was doing some stuff. So she's done now, but she's going back in her room to. She's been doing a little rearranging in her room and getting rid of some things, purging some clothes. She got rid of like a garbage bag full. So we'll have to take them to the donation center. So, the lighting. The music? What music? Where music? What music? I don't know what music. Is there music? I'm confused, Donna. I don't know what music you're talking about, unless you're talking about the music that's in some of my videos recently. That's the only music I know of. Oh, it was your computer. So it was good music from your own device. I was like, what music? Well, now, Donna, I want to know what that music is, so you'll have to, like, let me know. Okay. I hope that you guys that are mothers had a great Mother's Day, or that, have a mothering position in your life, I guess you could say. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but I hope you guys did. It was pretty good, but we did have bad news that morning. My husband's sister's husband, or my husband's brother-in-law, my brother-in-law, he passed away that morning. So keep our family in your prayers. We didn't know him that well, but either way, that happened on Sunday morning, and it's not easy, I'm sure, on her. We don't live super close, but we don't live super far away either. But that happened on Mother's Day, but otherwise it was uneventful, which that's a huge thing. But I don't even know how to talk about it because I didn't really know him, but it's just so sad. Like, I have empathy for her. I can't, or sympathy, I guess you could say. I don't know how it feels, but I can imagine. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go on to the recap from last week, because we're going to still be studying Proverbs 31. Women, the first, the thing we were talking about, we went through the first 9, let me see. Yes, 9 verses of Proverbs 31. And it was King Lemuel, I can't say his name, mother telling him, or talking to him about how he should be acting as a man, as a king. And she was guiding her son in the ways that he should be, and building his character in a good, have good character. That was her goal. And I shouldn't have worn this dress because now I feel like I'm being choked. That's okay. That is what I feel like she was doing. And today we will be going on into Proverbs 31, and I'm going to go ahead and do the whole rest of it all the way down to Proverbs 31, which is for some reason hard for me to say. But we're going to go from verses 10 to 31, and we're going to talk about that. I'm not using anything but my Bible today, or no other book other than my Bible. And I do have links for the different books I have used when I was doing the Bible study about other women of the Bible, and the different other things I do use. If you do purchase from those links, I do get something, I think. I don't know, I never have, but I get some sort of recognition or something. I don't even know. Because I haven't ever done anything. But I encourage you to use those links as a guide to maybe go find it somewhere else. If you can find it locally, that's a better price, or if you want to support a local business. Don't just use my links just to buy it just because it comes from me. Please use my links as a guide to show you what I'm using, and then maybe if you want to go to thrift books, or if you want to go to eBay, or you want to go wherever else. But that way it's just a visual for you to see exactly what I got, so that you can be able to purchase if you want to purchase. But the main thing that we need is a Bible and maybe a notebook and a pen. And or you can use a tablet to do your notes on if you would like to take notes. And you also don't even necessarily have to have a book form Bible. I do have links for free Bible websites. I just wanted to say all that. It's all in my description, and this will also be on the playlist, this whole thing. So now, like I said, the first 9 verses were all about building a good character and teaching her son to have good character. And I believe that this goes for teaching your daughters as well. It's not just for teaching your sons. It's not just for teaching your son who is a king, because not all of us have sons that are kings, but we all want them to have good character. It is for teaching your children. That is what I think. And I think that his mother was a good guide for that. And that is why I picked her as a type of Mother's Day thing. That's why I chose her. But I want to go ahead and tell you who she thinks he should, or what he should be looking for in a wife. And that is from verses 10 through 31. And it tells about the kind of wife that she hopes for her son. Now, there's some things that are in here that we wouldn't do nowadays in time, because we don't go and gather flax and all those types of things. But we can substitute that job or that type of task for what we would do now. We can replace it with what it would be replaced with now, instead of just what it was at that time. So a lot of people say, well, I can't do that. I can't be that kind of woman because I don't go out and gather these things, and I don't make these things. And I'm going to try to go through and tell you maybe on some of these things what the difference would be now as to what it was then. I may not do that with all of it, but I want to go through each verse. I may not spend a lot of time on each one, but I want to go through each verse and just discuss what I think she wanted. I have done a study on Proverbs 31 woman before, and I really loved it. It is actually what I feel like me doing that study was the first step in helping our marriage whenever we were having trouble. And it's just a good thing that we might want to be. Oh, hey, Carol. I hope you had a good nap. But also, even if we are not everything this woman was, that does not mean we're a bad person. That does not mean we're a bad wife. That does not mean we're a bad mother. That just means maybe we have things to work on, or maybe those things don't pertain to us. And I know that a lot of people think that if they're not everything she is, they're not good enough. And that's not true. So let's go ahead and get started. And I don't know what will come out of my mouth today, because I have kind of studied and went over all this, but I didn't take many notes. I just didn't have much that I wanted to add, or not add necessarily, but wanted to say about this. But who knows what God might help me with while I'm doing this, because I definitely do ask God to help me when I do this. And as I have said, I'm not a scholar. I'm not a theologian. I am just a woman who likes to study her Bible. So don't look at me as the one who knows all, because I'm definitely not. I just have a lot of tools to find out more, and a lot of prayers that go up in trying to get all of the help I can get. So I also want to encourage you guys to talk in the chat box as well. So let's go ahead to verse 10. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. So nowadays, you see a lot of women, and I am going to talk about some things I don't like. You see a lot of women who are not, they don't have good character. They don't have noble character. And maybe some of their character is okay, but the rest of it's pretty nasty. And I was a nasty type of person at times. Like, part of my character was good, but part of it wasn't. And the reason why is because I had a lot of thoughts that I should not have had towards my husband that weren't right. And also, I did want to say that this is not just for wives. This can be for anyone. And it could be for wives to be. It's just the type of person you should be, but you should have good character. You should work on your character. And that was something I had a lot of feminist thoughts. And I thought my husband was supposed to be some certain way that he shouldn't have been. Define noble? Oh, dear. Let's just look it up because I'm not too, okay, noble means possessing outstanding qualities. It can be of high birth or exalted rank, possessing very high or excellent qualities or properties, very good or excellent, grand or impressive, especially in appearance, possessing, characterized by, or arising from superiority of mind or character or ideals of morals, chemically inert or inactive, especially toward oxygen. Okay, that's so different. It can mean a lot of things, honestly. But some adjectives for it is moral, ethical, virtuous, righteous. Noble mean conforming to a standard of what is right and good. Moral implies conformity to established sanctioned codes or accepted notions of right or wrong. And I mean, it goes on. This is Merriam-Webster's thing. But my idea of noble is having good character, is being someone that no matter who's around, you're not ashamed of anything that you are doing or have done. Is someone who treats everyone in a loving manner, is the way I would think it would be. I don't know if it says anything. Let's see. My notes say Proverbs has a lot to say about women. How fitting that the book ends with a picture of a woman of strong character, great wisdom, many skills, and great compassion. Which it goes on about more of the things. But that's what noble means. I believe it has good morals. I believe that's the main thing. If we have good morals, I got all fuzzy. If we have good morals, then most of the time we're going to live good lives. We're going to be decent to others. Now, some people's idea of morals are different than others, but my morals, I would say, are to be doing what God commands, which is to love God and love others. And if we are loving others, we're not going to be hurting them on purpose. We're not going to do things to embarrass them. We're not going to be spiteful. And most of the time we're not going to be angry people if our morals are where they need to be. Now, we may be angry because other people have no morals, but I believe also that our idea of good could be different. My good could be different than yours. Some people may think being good is doing stuff for others and, making sure everyone is happy. But I also feel like you need to make sure you're happy too, because you have to be coming from a good place yourself to spread good. But I'm going to go on to verse 11. It says, her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. I believe that what that means is her husband knows that she's going to do what she's supposed to do. There's no lack of trust. There's no lack of understanding of how she's going to be. Yes, there's people that I know that have different belief systems than I do. And it's okay that they do, But it's also okay that we agree to disagree because some things there's no point in arguing about because they're not going to hear you, but you just love them anyway. But yes, the basic morals are loving, kindness, treating people decently. And a lot of that you don't see now. A lot of it, there's a lot of entitlement going on that is going on in our world right now. Or at least in our country, well, in the United States. Verse 12 says, she brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life, which I should have read those two together. But a woman who is bringing her husband good means that it does not mean that she has a dinner on the table as soon as he gets home and all of his clothes are perfect and all of the house is perfect. It does not mean all of that. It means whenever, this is my opinion, when it gets down to the nitty gritty, and like I have told you guys, my house is not perfect, but my husband doesn't expect it to be. He knows that I have problems with my back and my spine. There's times whenever I can't do anything. You guys don't see that because whenever I am in that position, I'm not filming myself because I don't feel like it. But he doesn't expect me to be perfect, but he knows that I do my best. And that is what a woman is supposed to be doing that's how that she brings him value, I believe. There's a lot more health problems nowadays than there used to be. I don't know exactly why. I know that there are theories as to why, but people have a lot of different problems. But people also live longer too than they did at one point in time. So let's go on to verse 13. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. Now, we may not select wool and flax to make things with. That may not be what we're doing. Our job now might be to make sure everybody has clothes. We might go to the store. And yeah, they probably are more recognized illness-wise. Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of things used to be called the same thing all the time, and it was like, what? But or it was like a stomach disease, or there was no actual term for it. There's more science now, but I think now verse 13, it means that the woman is supposed to make sure everyone has their basic needs. We all need clothes to wear, and in a lot of situations, it's the woman who does that. And I think it's also because we're a little bit more picky about what we want our family to wear. I think maybe. I don't know. But she's the one who selects things. And also, like, the woman is the one who usually decorates the house. Now, you guys have seen my house. I don't have any decorating style. I like camouflage. I have camouflage curtains. I have camouflage lamp. Have camouflage other things. I would have a camouflage couch if I could find one I liked. But usually it's the woman who's doing those things. Verse 14, she's like merchant ships bringing her food from afar. Now, we don't have to go far to get our food most of the time nowadays. Now, I mean, at that point, women had to go to the market, get food, bring it home. They didn't have cars. They didn't have, most of the time, horse and buggies or donkeys or anything back in Bible times. They might have had a donkey, but probably not. But she would have to go on foot to get food, water, all those things. And merchant ships do travel pretty far to bring things in. 15, she gets up while it is still night. She provides for her food for her family and portions for her female servants. Now, most of us do not have servants. I don't have servants. And I don't know if I want them because I want things done a certain way. But she gets up and makes sure her family is fed. Now, the way I do that, I don't get up and fix breakfast for my family every day. I used to when my kids were younger. I don't now because they're different. They're older and they also want different things, and we have different schedules and we do different ways. So nowadays, the woman would probably most likely do like me and do some menu planning, some meal planning, do some meal prepping, have things ready for her family. That's my version of this verse. That's what I do. I make sure my family has food to eat. Whether they fix it themselves or whether I fix it for them, that doesn't really matter because we're all adults. And which most of the time it's me cooking anyway. But I make sure there's plenty in the house at all times. You guys know that. Verse 16, she considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. Now, this part tells me that she was a businesswoman. She bought property. Now, if she's going to plant a vineyard, if she's going to have a whole vineyard, she might have a pretty good bit of money, a pretty good bit of property. Now, that does not mean that if we don't have a lot of property and we don't have vineyards that we're falling short. That does not mean that, I don't think. Because all of us can't have vineyards. All of us can't have tons of property. And all of us don't want it. I don't want tons of property. That's a lot of extra work that I don't think I need. I don't have any use for it. So I think that me buying a lot of property would be wasteful for my family. But it just means that she is a businesswoman. She's taking care of things. That means that she is helping her husband, is my thought, by taking care of some of the things that need to be taken care of. A lot of people will take this verse and say, oh, well, women can work. Well, yeah, women can work if they want to. I have no problem with women working. I used to work. I don't now outside of the home. But a lot of people would say, well, women are supposed to work because of this verse. But that's not necessarily what it means. That's just a version of what my thought is, a version of what a woman could do. Let's see, where am I at? 17, she sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. So to me, that means that whatever she's planning on doing, whatever her task is, whether it's washing the clothes all day or like making sure, certain parts of her house are clean, or whether it's at a job where that she has certain tasks that she needs done, whatever she does it with everything. Like, she is taking care of what she needs to take care of, and she doesn't do it just halfway or part way and leave it halfway done or part of the way done. She sets about her task. She gets it done. And she doesn't just, let somebody else do it for her. There were times in my life where that I would start tasks and then I would not finish them. And I had no other reason other than I just didn't want to do it anymore. It was just, it didn't, as they say now, spark joy. I just didn't want to do it anymore, so I'd quit. And most of the time that was some kind of like craft that I had started, and it was something that I really didn't like. And then I didn't really think it through before I started, so it would end up being something that I didn't really need to start. So now everything that I start, I think it through. And even if I don't want to finish it, I will finish it. Even if I hate it, even if it's something that I just want to go away right now, I will finish whatever that task was. And my thought is that that's what you do. You just do what you're supposed to be doing with everything. And if you set out to do it, you finish it. That's my thought anyway. Verse 18, she sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. Now, back then they had oil lamps. And if your lamp went out, it usually wasn't a good thing. You probably didn't have enough oil, which in a way, I think this means that she worked until the job was done. It says she sees her trading is profitable. She probably was maybe she was sewing clothes for others, which I think it does say something about that later on, about I know it says something about garments and stuff, but she was probably working at night. And back then they had to have lamps, and they had to keep doing what they were doing. Because with me, okay, so I had an Etsy shop. I started the Etsy shop, and I probably shouldn't have. I learned that quickly. I was working on the Etsy shop a lot, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't see any profit in it, but I kept doing it. And up until I talked to Jeff about it, and I felt like I was supposed to just stop for then and maybe start back later, or start back a different way, or maybe never start again. I was kind of driving myself crazy with it, but I was not making it profitable. So I was not doing what I should be doing, is what I'm trying to say. So the next part is 19. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. Now, she's spinning thread. Let's see. Okay, the next part wouldn't go along with that, but I mean, a lot of us don't spin our own thread. We don't make our own fabric now. It would be a thing that I would love to learn. I would love to learn that art, now is what they would call it. That skill would be awesome to me, but we don't use spinning wheels. We don't do those kinds of things now. We could, because they still sell them. You still get them, but it's not something we do. So I would think that would be something that for our time would mean that we would go ahead and we would make sure we had all the tools we needed for whatever task we had to do. Verse 20, she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. So if I ever see someone who is in need, I will do my best to help them. If God prompts me to do something, I do it. As a family, we donate things. We donate money. We donate like to the food banks. We donate things that we're not using anymore that are still in really great shape. We donate those to charity and things like that. And you don't have many people that are in your neighborhoods that you see a lot of times. Now, some neighborhoods I'm sure there are, but a lot of times you don't have a lot of poor and needy people in your kind of in your face kind of situation. And I know that back then there would be in the towns, there would be in the streets, there would be beggars that you would see more prominently. Now, we do have people that you see whenever you're driving and stuff, but not as much as you would see it in the situations you were in. And a lot of times I believe back then, because of the situation women were in, because if they didn't have, like if their husband died and they didn't have a son, they would have no livelihood. I believe that, the widows were the ones that probably had more help, or the children, orphans would be the ones they probably helped more. They would be more needy. The next one, 21. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. I cannot read. In scarlet. That to me means she made sure that they were warm. She made sure they had clothes that were warm, and they didn't go out in the cold improperly dressed. And I know that ever since my babies were little, I've always had blankets and coats and jackets and gloves and all those hats and all that stuff. 22, she makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Now, purple, from what I can remember, signified, like, if I'm remembering correctly, in biblical times, purple, it represented like a person who had more money, maybe. I can't remember exactly what it meant, though. Maybe I should have looked this up. Let's see. Okay. Purple this is on Bible Gateway. In the ancient world, the color purple was a mark of high rank and nobility. This was occasioned by a very high cost of purple dye used for clothing the nobles of royalty. Now, we do have to remember that this woman who is telling her son what she's supposed to have, what his wife is supposed to have, this boy is a king. So that's something we got to think about too. But that doesn't mean we can't try to have good character like this. But it doesn't mean we're supposed to try to be like royalty. I wouldn't want to be royalty. They have too many jobs. Let's see. Next one. 23. Her husband is respected at the city gate where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. Now, to be at the city gate and have respect, that was something that was a high, you had to be in a high rank for that. You had to be a really, you had to be a person of very good character to be among the elders that were there. You had to be someone who had no shame, like you just had to be someone who was doing what they were supposed to be doing. And of course, I'm sure that the wife had to be a woman who didn't bring shame to her husband. 24. Wait a minute. Yes. 24. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. So that to me, I'm on verse 24 now. That was 23. Her husband was respected at the city gate. But I'm on 24 now. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. So she was a seamstress, I guess you could say. Now, I know not all of us can make clothes. Not all of us. I mean, now for us to make clothes and try to sell them, you have to have some special kind of niche because there's so many places now that you can get them. So you kind of have to put that in some other way and think about what would it be now for us? What would we be doing to help our families? I don't do much of anything to help my family with money by bringing money in, but I do many things to save money. Like I use coupons, I buy things on sale. I don't just go buy every little thing I think I want. And I believe that is a big part of what this is. And it is about money, but it's not necessarily just about money, I think. Verse 25, she is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. In other words, she has no worries about what's coming. She is comfortable. And like with me, I'm not necessarily worried about tomorrow and if I will have food to eat, if I will have food to feed my family, if I will have, all these things. I honestly, the reason why I don't is because I put my faith in God and I know He will take care of us. But what I feel like this is saying is that she's strong enough, and I would believe strong enough in the Lord, which that's not what it says, but that's what I need for today. Strong enough in the Lord that she knows He's going to take care of her. Verse 26 says she speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction is on her tongue. So that tells me she's not out gossiping. She's not out just telling people just whatever. She actually knows what she's talking about. She doesn't just say things just to say them, to hear herself speak. She is, and this is where it really gets into your character. She's just not going out with friends just to have a chat about nothing. She has purpose. Now, I will talk to my friends, and sometimes we don't really talk about much of anything, but we're always talking about something that, to some people it might not mean anything. Like one of my friends right now, she's in the middle of moving, And I don't have to know about all her ins and outs of how it's going or all those things. She lives far away from me. I don't, I can't just go help her. So, we have to do our part, though we just can't sit around on our hiney and expect things to literally fall in our laps. Exactly, Donna. We do have to do our part. We do. And I believe this woman is doing her part. But my friend is moving, and I know that she is moving into a smaller home. She was renting, now she's purchasing a home, and the home is smaller than what she was doing, so she was purging things. And yes, we've talked about that. Did we have to talk about that? No. Was it bad to talk about that? No. Now, if she and I had been sitting around gossiping and talking about Sally Sue next door, which there is not a Sally Sue next door. In fact, there's nobody next door. But if we had been, that would have been wrong. But we were talking about things that didn't really matter in life, that wouldn't make a difference. But in other ways, it does make a difference, because we are still keeping up with each other. We're still showing each other love and, things like that. It doesn't mean you just are always speaking wisdom and that you're always perfectly right. But what you're talking about should be something that matters somehow. So we do have to watch what we're saying and how we're saying it. And I know I mess up a lot, and I have to go back and change things or tell not as much as I used to, but there's been times in my life where I will say something that's wrong to my husband or children, and I'll have to go back and tell them the right way. Now, I'm not doing it on purpose. As I think I've talked about this before, I am not telling a lie. I'm not trying to tell something that's a falsehood. I just make a mistake or I get it wrong, and I have to go back and fix that. And the error is not that I made the mistake. The error is if I don't go fix it. That's whenever I mess up. So that's speaking with wisdom too, I believe. If you find out you were wrong about something and you go and you tell the person, I think that is wise. So we're going to go on to verse 27. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. This is not talking about eating bread. This is not talking about food at all. What this is talking about is she's always planning. She's always making sure that her house is run perfectly. Her bills are paid. Her groceries are bought. All the things that need to be done. Like, I know whenever my kids were younger, I would fuss so much because I was the only one taking them to the doctor, and I was the only one taking them to the dentist, and I was just like, I'm the only one that ever does this stuff. I was wrong for doing those things, for thinking that way. I should have been thinking, I get to take my children to the doctor. I am able to take my children to the dentist. But I was looking at it in the wrong way. And that is watching over the affairs of your household. My household is the people who live in my house. Not necessarily just the house, but the people who live here too. That is your household, is the people who you are in charge of. And the way I used to think is it was wrong. And this is really where that I feel like God did a lot of work on me. Because I was poor, pitiful me. Oh my goodness, I have to do everything. Why do I do it? And I still sometimes that pops up, and sometimes it pops out, and I'm not speaking with wisdom. And I will say, why am I the only one who washes dishes? Why am I the only one that washes clothes? And those things shouldn't come out. Those things shouldn't be in my head. It's old habits that I am still trying to break, and one day God's going to get me loose of all of it. He has helped. He's taken me a long way. I've gone a long way. But, let's see. I think we have attitudes like that. I have to take kids XYZ because we're young and not used to taking such responsibilities. So maybe it's a bit overwhelming when we're young. That's true. I was 21 and 22 when I had my children. They are 21 and 22 right now. It's really weird. But Noah is the age I was when I had Selena, and Selena's the age I was when I had Noah. But I was 21 and 22. I honestly did not have guidance on how to be a mother, on what my responsibilities were, on how hard it was, on how wonderful it could be. I didn't know how to do any of the things. I had this false sense of how things were supposed to be because of television. Don't watch TV. Don't watch TV and expect life to be anything like it is on there, because it's definitely not. But I had this false sense of what life was supposed to be like. And I had this poor, pitiful me. The woman has to do everything. It was horrible. And I still have that pop up sometimes. It's usually on days whenever I am in really bad pain from my back, or I'm stressed and my anxiety is acting stupid. I really need to stop calling it my anxiety, because I don't want to keep claiming it's not mine anymore. I need to just throw it away, but I can't. I mean, it's just like, what do I do? Anyway, that's a whole different situation. But it's usually on days whenever I'm mentally and physically drained and done with everything in life, and I just want to lay on the couch or lay in the bed and not do anything, but I still have to do my task. Honestly, now the way that our house is, like I said, we're all adults. I don't have to do anything. Yeah, Donna, I did know that they were intended to get women back in the home after World War II, but I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about like the 80s shows. The old ones were different somehow. It felt different. Those were the ones where that you could actually learn how to be a better wife, I think, in some ways. But it's the 80s and 90s shows that really messed and warped my head. But where was I at before I read that? But the times whenever I am feeling that way and all that, it's because of all of that. And as I was saying, we're all adults in this house. And honestly, my husband could eat a sandwich and be happy. But I expect myself to do more. I expect myself to take care of everybody in the house and everything else, and everything to be the way it should be and all this stuff. And nobody else does. Nobody else in this house expects things to be some certain way. And everyone in this house can do and will do for themselves. And sometimes ask me why I do so much. So it's all me. It's not anybody else. It's my brain that is messing me up. So, but we are to watch over the affairs of our household. But that doesn't mean that we have to do all the things. I don't think. Verse 28, her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her, which my husband does. I believe if you're a woman of good character, your husband will, and your children will. My children, I mean, I have really, I want to say excellent children. I mean, they are, my children are the best I could ask for. I mean, they are really great, and I cannot complain about them. They have, yeah, we've had issues, but every child has learning. They push, but the way that they are, I cannot really complain, because they do really well, and they have good character, and they're the way that they think and the way that they treat others. I am proud of that, and I think I've even said it before on here. I'm almost positive I did, because I do brag on my children. I brag on my husband, and I mean, it's my job. Not really, but I mean, my kids are just like, they're awesome. My husband is, and I talk about him a lot, and I've actually annoyed people by talking about him before. That's okay. I'm gonna brag on him. I can't help it. Let's see. 29. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. That's saying, I mean, there a lot of women do that. And no, it's not a competition for women. We're not supposed to be trying to be better than Sally Sue next door. We're not supposed to be talking bad about her either. But it's not a competition. It's not something that, is going to be wonderful and perfect. But like I said, this woman was talking to a king, and this woman had to be way better than the average woman. This woman had to be super great. And I'm going to go ahead and read the last two, and then I want to kind of talk about a little bit about this. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. So the thing is, we can be charming, we can be beautiful. I mean, I used to be a lot better looking than what I am now, but that's not going to last. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm ugly. Please do not think that. I am not. I don't think I'm ugly. I've never thought that. I don't think I'm excellent and beautiful and wonderful, but I'm not ugly. And that makes me beautiful. So, because I don't know. I'm just joking around. But the main thing that we really need to look at is verse 30. A woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. That is the main thing we need to do. And no, it does not mean we're scared of the Lord. It does not mean we're scared of God. It does not mean that we have some sort of fear like it's going to hurt us, it's going to get us if we don't do the, it's not that kind of fear. It's a reverence. It's an adoration and admiration. It's not fear as in the boogeyman, scared of the boogeyman kind of thing. It is fear as in you have a reverence toward the Lord, and that is what our goal is. Now, there's a lot of things that this woman in Proverbs 31 was supposed to be. But we also have to look at the fact that she was also supposed to be a king's wife. I'm pretty sure that a king, because he's in, he's out in the public more, he has to, everything be perfect. There's no scandals or we're going to have problems kind of thing. Had to be perfect. Now, I can't even think of like an example of a king and a wife right now, because the only queen I can think of is Queen Elizabeth. And she's the one that is like the head of all the things. But this lady was telling her son he needed to look for someone who wasn't going to embarrass him, that wasn't going to bring him shame, that wasn't going to harm him. I feel like I think we need to look for a partner, a spouse who is not going to shame us, who's not going to bring us harm, things like that. And I think that is what men are to look for. And I think that we are to strive to be the one who does not cause harm, as well as the men. It's not all about just the women, but I feel like we have to have that. The things I did write down is this woman has many talents. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to be able to sew and go sell the stuff. It doesn't mean we have to go buy a vineyard or go buy land and plant a vineyard. We don't have to be farmers. We don't have to be, agriculturists or anything like that. It just means that the talents God gave us, we need to work on, to get better with, and to use those talents to glorify God and, in a sense, glorify our spouse, to glorify our husband. And then I wrote down she has value. She has plans and takes care of those she is in charge of. That is our main job. You don't necessarily have to make a plan, but life is so much easier if you do plan things. Now, I don't plan everything I do, but I have learned whenever I don't make a plan, things don't work out so well. Things take longer. There's a lot of more, like, let's just use this for an example. Now, this is not something that happens a lot, but let's just use this as an example. As you all know, I do a meal plan. But sometimes we decide to go out to eat. Whenever we don't have a plan of where we're going to go eat, it takes forever to figure it out. At least 15 minutes to an hour is wasted. That's what happens. So, and also, I have recently talked about on one of my videos how that for breakfast and lunch, I don't usually plan those things. And so I end up eating things that are not as nutritious, or it may be nutritious, but it's not really as filling as it should be. And I end up hungry later and all this stuff. And I'm trying to keep myself, like, I had a doctor who told me I need to plan my meals and to eat a certain way and to eat a certain amount of meals and all this stuff to lose weight because I was starving myself fat. And I'm like, what do you mean? I wasn't eating enough. So my body's keeping all of the everything. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I learned from that. But anyway, I still, even though he told me that, I still have not done what he said because I have had a hard time planning those things. Those things, okay, I make a meal plan every week for my family for one meal. It's easy. It's super easy to make a meal plan for my whole family. But when it comes down to just me, it's hard. I don't know why. I have to get over that. But I feel like this woman represents a lot of things we could strive towards. But we do have to put them into our lives now. Because the time is different. Like I said, there's lots of stores to buy clothes at. You don't have to go forever, and you can usually get in your car or in a bus, a taxi. There's some way, even if you just ride a bike to go buy your groceries. There's even grocery pickup now, and there's also delivery. So, yeah, we still have to do those things, but we, to get the things in the home, we have to make plans. We have to decide how we're going to do that. All of these things do not pertain to us exactly how it is written in the Bible. But that is only because these things were written in biblical times and they didn't have the things we have now. So we have to kind of change it. Just like you would something like, say, whenever Jeff and I first got married, we didn't have a washer dryer. So we had to go to the laundromat to make sure clothes were done. I had to make sure I planned that. I had to make sure I did all that stuff. And then whenever we did get a washer and dryer, in the very beginning, I was still trying to wash and dry the same way I was at a laundromat. Get it all done in one day. That does not work. It just doesn't work. Because at a laundromat, I had several washers, several dryers. At home, I had one of each. So I couldn't do that. In that time, I was like, man, this didn't used to take so long. What in the world is it taking so long for? Wasn't putting it all together. I was still very young. So I had to plan things and make things work the way they should. And I feel like God gives us all different talents. Like myself, I'm pretty good with planning. I'm pretty good with making sure the schedules are done and figuring out all that stuff. My daughter, she doesn't usually plan much, and she's not gotten to that point, but she has her talents. My son, he's got his own talents. My husband has his talents. So there's things that my husband can do that I'm like amazed. He can take things that I think about and I want and draw them and then go build it. I can't draw. That's not a talent I have. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we take our own talents. We do what God wants us to do with them. And that is what makes us the Proverbs 31 woman. We use what God gave us to do what we need for our families. And we don't compare to each other. We don't try to, there are things that my friends have said, oh, well, you do that way. They're not comparing. They're learning from me and they're using it. But like I have said a lot of times on my videos, this is the way I do it. And the only reason I'm sharing it with you is not because I'm better, but because this is how I do it. And maybe you can take something from what I'm doing and make it your own. Even my recipes. I mean, if you see a recipe I'm doing and it uses oregano, but you hate oregano, don't put it in it. Don't do it. You won't eat it. You know what I'm saying? Don't compare yourselves. Don't try to be like someone else. And don't try to make yourself this woman completely. Because we can't. We can't be her. She was supposed to be a king's wife. We can't do that. I mean, some of y'all might. I don't know who's watching me. Some of y'all might be a king's wife. I doubt it. But you might be. So, my whole point with the Proverbs 31 study was this woman was teaching her son how to be a good person, how to have good character. She was teaching her son what kind of character to look for. This is not, and I know I have heard so many people say that this is what we're supposed to live up to, but nope. If we had YouTube when I was first married, it would have helped me learn to do some things. Yuck, I really do hate oregano. How did I come up with oregano? Okay. I don't hate oregano, but it's okay that you do. But like, a lot of times I've heard different women say, well, we're supposed to be like the Proverbs 31 woman. No, we're not. We're supposed to be the best version of what God gave us to be. And we're not supposed to slack on that. We are supposed to try our best to have good character. But I think the most important verse out of the whole Proverbs 31 is verse 30. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. The woman who fears the Lord, that's what we are to strive to be. That is the Proverbs 31 woman to me. Someone who looks at this Bible and reads this thing and says, what do you expect of me, God? What do you want from me? What am I supposed to be? And he shows you. And that is who you become. Not something that the world tells you to be, like this supermodel who's a size 2 that nobody is like that has no thigh gap and has the perfect face and the perfect hair and all this stuff. We can't do that. I mean, I have watched these makeup artists or these women who are doing makeup and stuff, and they will transform themselves. They do all this contour and all this stuff, and I'm telling you, they got like an inch thick of makeup on, and they ain't even a real person anymore. I don't want to go through all that. I sweat. I walk outside. This is Alabama. I walk out there right now. The humidity is pretty high. It's going to melt off my face. Do you think I'm still going to be pretty? No. Let's see. What am I supposed to be, and what do you want from me? And give me the power to carry that, what you want from me, out. Yes, that's what we're supposed to be asking God for. What he wants us to be. And what we're supposed to be. And that's what, yeah, I know, Donna. I know you weren't talking about me. Because, I only expect you to be what God wants you to be. I know you weren't talking about me. But the Proverbs 31 woman is not something we're supposed to be striving to be, except verse 30. And yeah, I went through all this stuff, talked about all these things, because that's what his mother said he was supposed to be looking for. But we also have to think about, she was looking for a queen, not just a regular whatever. She was looking for a queen. And yeah, we can do some of those things. We can do some of the things that woman did. We could buy land and plant a vineyard. We could spin wool. Or flax, or whatever it was. Wool and flax that she selects. And she spun. It didn't say what she spun, but did it? I'm all mixed up now. No, it did not say what she was spinning. But we could do all those things. But the main thing we need to do is fear God. And we need to reverence God. We need to give him all the glory for all he does in our lives. And we need to learn what this tells us to do and go from there. You can be a Proverbs 31 woman just by doing that. And I think that was the whole reason why I wanted to talk about her today, because I didn't have to continue today. I could have just left it with last week and talked about his mother, and that'd be it. But I really wanted us to know we're not perfect. We're not going to meet all these standards. We're not going to reach all the goals of his mother for a queen. But as long as we reach verse 30, as long as we are doing our best to do what God wants us to do, and loving him and loving others, we're a Proverbs 31 woman. And I know there's different studies that I've read, that I've studied myself, that I've enjoyed, that I have learned from, that say a lot of different things. But that is what I get from this. You guys can tell me what you get from it. You can send me an email. This might be a total annoyance to some of y'all because I went on and on for over an hour about a lot of different things. And we are supposed to be a wife of a noble character, but not all of the women who watch me are wives. Some of you may be divorced. Some of you may never have been married yet. Some of you may be widows. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a wife. You could be not married yet because God hasn't told you who to marry, or you just, you're not old enough, it's those kinds of things. But you can still be a woman of good character. And I know there may be some men that watch this. And I want my son to look for that woman who fears the Lord. I want my son to look for the godly woman, the one who is doing everything she can to follow God. And I want my daughter to be that type of woman for her future spouse. So I guess that's all I have to say about all of this today. That's my goal, is to be that woman. And yes, I will make mistakes. And yes, I will go back into old habits sometimes. I told you guys that. I go back to the stupid feminist thoughts, and then I'll have to slap myself around a little bit and say, nope, that's not what you're supposed to be thinking. But I do go back sometimes whenever I'm not having the days like I need to have, or I'm not having good days and things. But just remember verse 30. Not verse 31, but verse 30. A woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And that's what our goal is. So I guess that's all I have for today. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I know it was I always say it was a little weird. It's always a little weird because it's me. And I do feel a little bit nervous still because of talking about these things and talking to you guys, because my goal is not to teach you things. My goal is to tell you what I think, and then you study for yourself and you let God show you what you're supposed to think. That's what my goal is to get all of us in the Word more and to reach those that maybe can't study for themselves. That's also why I put those links that for the free websites, because there may be someone who can't own a Bible like this. And I'm not just talking about people who live in other countries. There are people in the United States who their family members will not allow them to have a Bible, but they have a cell phone that they could look up something. And that is the only thing I will tell someone to defy others with, is studying God's Word. You don't listen to somebody else if you want to study God's Word. You just be careful so you don't get hurt. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I know there are people that are not allowed to read the Bible, but want to. So that's one reason I put the links in. And I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that, other than the things are there in the description if you want to use them. Just if you are in a situation where you're not supposed to be watching Bible studies, where you're not supposed to be reading the Bible because of whatever reason, I don't think God would like that people are doing that to you, but just be careful with it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I hope YouTube doesn't get on to me for saying that, but if they do, I will. Anyway, maybe you understand what I'm saying, but thank you guys again for watching. I do hope you did enjoy this. I hope you come back next time. It's always at 2 on Tuesdays, unless something happens, and then I will put it on my community tab to let you know that the time has changed or it's canceled or something like that. There's always a playlist. My email is on my About page. If you have anything that you want to, talk about, say any certain thing you want to study, it's always there. And I'm going to go. Thank you guys again for watching. And remember, don't take any wooden nickels, and be sweet.